Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 113 of the Traveling Professors. Today we're going to take a walking tour of the Dark Hedges of Ireland. Now this was part of a long all-day journey that we took of Northern Ireland sites. Dark Hedges, Castle Dunluce, and the Giants Causeway. And I'm going to break them up into different pieces because they require some different kind of coverage, and it makes it a little easier to see them in little pieces. Of course, the Dark Hedges is most famous because of the center picture down below on the cover, which is the scene from the Game of Thrones where Arya is being smuggled out of King's Landing, and this is the group that they're heading towards the Castle of the Night Watch, and that is where it was filmed. They did several little sections from that time. So we're going to take a little walk through this. Well, here is a map of exactly what we were supposed to do on our day trip. We're supposed to leave Dublin. Our first stop is supposed to be at the Dark Hedges. Then we were to go to Dunluce Castle, then to the Giants Causeway, and then to the Carrick Arid Rope Bridge, and then back to Belfast Centre, and back to Dublin. Well, we didn't do the rope bridge. It was really windy that day, and I never asked why we weren't seeing it, but I assumed that was it. We left at 7 o'clock, and we were supposed to be back at 7 in the evening. I believe that if you're in Belfast or if you're in Londonderry, you can probably take tours of these places and save you a lot of time. I just didn't want to stay in Northern Ireland. And we end up getting back at 7:55 in the evening, and we just barely made a show that we had scheduled. So that's the way we're supposed to be going. And it is about 3 hours up, 3 hours back, and then I'll tell you how much we spent in all these places as we go through them. Now on this map you can see where everything is. There's the Dark Hedges, that's where we're going to first. And then we have to backtrack and then go up to Dunluce Castle, and then of course it's not very far from the Giants Causeway. Now we start out in Dublin, and we will be catching our bus right here, back in this area. This is where the statue of Molly Maguire is located, so there's Sheri sitting by Molly Maguire. So we waited here, then people came up and said, are you with this group going so-and-so, or are you in this group going so-and-so? And then we went down to the main street and then got onto the big bus. So we used a big bus. This is the Paddy Wagon Company. The bus was very nice. It's just the driver talked too much. And so we got on our bus and we began our ride out. And then here is a picture of a scene from the Game of Thrones as the group heading to the Night Watch area is leaving and going through this particular zone. Here's an aerial view of the Dark Hedges site. So after about 2.5 hours, came down the road and turned into the parking lot, which is nice and blue here. We actually drove right by the entrance of it. And they probably charged to park there, but we were on the bus, so that wouldn't have come in. Now, at this point, we're about ready to get off the bus. Our driver says we have 20 minutes here. And you can look at this and see that's going to be quite a challenge to go from one end to the other and back again. I had made a miscalculation thinking that at the end of it, it turned and came back. It did not. So once I got to the end, it was time to hurry back and get on the bus. So they have a restaurant, they have a place that you can stay, they have tourist stuff, and then you can begin your journey. And you'll walk right in front of the main property and then right down the avenue here, which was put in to accentuate the arrival to these people's estate. So here we are going on the bus. We're heading close, and you can see this is actually parts of the Dark Hedges right here. And that's a little further down, and you can see there's gaps in them. They told us that they had storms in the last couple of years, and then quite a few of the trees had been knocked down. And so we're going to go right by the entrance of it, which is really good. If you were on the other side of the bus, you could have gotten a shot of the manor house. So here's the shot just as we go right through the area where you start your walk to go into the Dark Hedges. And then we get down and pull into the parking lot, and then all we do is follow the signs. Once we got off the bus in the bus parking area, Sheri and I had a discussion, and Sheri decided that since we were only going to be here 20 minutes, it looked like it'd be a run down and a run back, that she would save her energy, and I was more interested in the Game of Thrones aspect than anything else. So she let me take all the pictures, and she had a nice cup of coffee and probably a donut. And so we come through from the parking lot, and here's where some of the people who are staying at the little hotel or the restaurant or the place where you can get your tourist items. And here's where the hotel area is located. They have a golf course on the region as well, but it's back behind these buildings. And then I turned. There's another sign. We're following into the woods, and we continue moving through. And this is not part of the Dark Hedges. This just happens to be the wooded area. We're heading to the house. So here's another section where you see the woods in it. It's very promising. You're like, wow, what's it going to be like when we get to the real section? And then we come to the manor house. That's Grace Hill House is what it's known as. James Stewart built the Grace Hill House in 1775 and named it after his wife, Grace Lind. Now, the family planted this avenue of trees. They put 150 beech trees along the entrance to this Georgian estate to make sure that people were impressed when they came to visit the house. Now, the estate itself surrounding the house was given. King James I granted the land to a cousin who drowned on his way to Ireland before he could take possession of his new home. The estate then passed to his grandson, William Stewart, and it remained in the Stewart family for many years. And now it is owned by someone else. And then this is a view back just before we cross the street where you get into the actual Dark Hedges. Now, one of the problems you're going to see is there were lots of people here, and trying to get peopleless pictures, it just isn't possible. Not unless you have some of the Lannisters people come out and ambush about half of them. Periodically, I will turn around when I think I can get a nice clear picture. And then here we are getting ready to go into the Dark Hedges. This is the road that we came by on our bus. And now all we have to do is make sure we don't get hit while we cross the road again. It looks promising, however, from here, that there are only a couple of people in front of me. Perhaps I can put it in a higher gear and get ahead of them. Well, that was a nice thought. Now, some people might always want to talk about, are there any ghosts? Well, there is a local ghost story about this area. It features a ghost known as the Gray Lady, a specter that glides along this road, sashaying between the gnarled trees, and then vanishes from sight when she passes the last tree, so she's kind of jumping in and out. Well, some local people believe she's the ghost of a maid from a nearby house who's died under mysterious circumstances over 100 years ago. It is also possible that it's the daughter of James Stewart, referred to in some genealogical lists as Cross Peggy. Others believe she's a lost spirit from an old deserted graveyard that is thought to lie hidden in the fields nearby. On Halloween night, the forgotten graves are said to open, and the Gray Lady is joined on her walk by the tormented souls of those who were buried beside her. So it wouldn't be a really good English estate area without a nice ghost story. And you can see up ahead, the trees are going to get a lot thicker. And this is where I'm going to talk about all these beech woods in here. But before we go that far, let's turn around and see if there's anybody following us. Yes, there is, and there's a car that had gone by the other direction. So they're actually catching up to me. So every time I stop to take a picture, they gain on me. Now, Sheri and I were at the Dark Hedges. I guess probably about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. And it was a cloudy day, partly cloudy. The sun came in and out. So it's a little darker than it would normally be. But to get the effect that you're looking for from the Game of Thrones, you'd probably have to be there closer to sunset. So as we move along, you see that there's quite a bit of gap between the trees in this one section. And then people that were behind me are now in front, so that's a plus. And then this is the last spot where you can actually take a picture and still see the Stewart house down at the end of the road. But now we're getting into the thicker area, and it looks more like what you'd see in the Game of Thrones thing. Now, in 2014, the area was surveyed with their beech trees and recorded as part of the Heritage Lottery-funded project commissioned by the Dark Hedges Preservation and the Causeway Coast and Glens Heritage Trust. Now, the trees range from mature to post-mature, and a lot of them are estimated to be about 300 to 350 years old. Now, the lifespan of a typical one of these beech trees would be about 150 to 200 years old. And as we go along, you can see some of them are pretty gnarled and beginning to show show serious decay. At maturity, the height of the tree is more than 40 meters, 120 or more feet, and they have this huge dome crown. And you can see the bark is smooth, it's thin and gray, and often has slight horizontal etchings. The reddish-brown tornado-shaped leaf buds form on stalks, short stalks, and have a distinctive crisscross pattern. And the young leaves are lime green with silky hairs and become darker green and then lose those as they're mature. So these trees are also both male and female flowering on the same tree. And this usually happens in April and in May. Now, we are here in October, actually, and seeing these things. So as we come in, you see it become much more dense. And then here's a section where you can really see how dense it is. And I think this is probably one of the better spots. And once we get past that area, there's just a couple of small groups. So here's one as we're walking towards it. And you'll notice that the people in front of us have gotten significantly smaller in size. I'm trying to make sure that some of the people in front of us are part of our bus group, so I'm not the last one heading back. And then a little closer, you can see these people that were in front of me have now stopped. And so I'm going to take these pictures right here, which gives you a nice view. And then I'm going to continue on a little bit, and you actually reach the point where the gray lady would stop. This is the end of the route, actually. And so at this point, it's time to head back to the bus. I think I've got about 8 minutes to get back. Ended up there wasn't that close. I think it ended up we were there about 25 minutes. But when I turned around to go back, it was a little disconcerting to see that everybody is gone. I did catch up to them as we got closer to the house and then made it to the bus to head out to our next stop, which on this map is Castle Dunluce. So that's where we'll be going in our next show. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.